All right. Hi, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Crypto Scoop FM. For the longest time, in the last 12 videos or so that I have created for you, I've pretty much focused on AI and also within AI, the BitTensor ecosystem. So, this video, I'm going to do something different. I know a lot of us are waiting for the, quote unquote alt season. So, in this video, I'm going to walk through some of the data points that I'm looking at that gives me an indication that, well, we're still not quite there, but we're getting towards an altcoin. And if and when the alt season gets back, how should we position ourselves today? What are the actions that we need to take today? What are the projects that we need to look at? And how do we generally think about our overall portfolio positioning in order to maximize our gains at the same time in a manageable risk way. Of course, nothing that I say here is financial advice, life advice, or legal advice. I am not a financial advisor, a registered accountant, or nothing like that. I'm just a guy recording videos sitting in my room. So bear in mind, if you do take a decision to invest in anything that I cover in this video, the responsibility solely lies on you. With that, guys, let's jump in. So, what is really happening in the market right now is interesting because if you if you see the and what I have here is the ratio of the total crypto market cap, excluding Bitcoin, ETH, and stables. Against BTC. So what this ratio is showing you is how the entire, all of the coins in crypto except for these large ones and stable coins are priced against Bitcoin. And this is an interesting chart because if you look at it, and if I wanted to zoom out, so we look at the full big picture, and there are a few things that you should note here, right? What are those? We saw the first parabolic rise in altcoins in 2018, 17 and 18, and this was around the time, if you guys were around here, was the ICO wave, right? When you had a lot of projects kind of coming in and launching their coins, and suddenly you had a lot of interest. And Bitcoin was also pretty much young, which is why you see a value of 1.1 BTC against the market cap of all of these mostly shit coins. But then the market priced the risk again and adjusted, and it kind of fell flat until it reached 13% in 2021 January, which was right around the time when things started heating up again, and we saw this meteoric rise. And by May, Bitcoin had created a new all-time high. A lot of these alts became parabolic. If you remember, like 20 to 40x on BNB, Uniswap, Polkadot, and a lot of these different projects came in, and we saw this rise. And since then, there has been this gradual decline, where all we're seeing is Bitcoin going up, and the rest of the alt market, at least the majority of the alt market, either going sideways or dropping down like 80 to 90% from its lifetime lows. There is also truth to this point that Bitcoin is no longer crypto. I mean, in the sense that it is no longer being treated in the same way that we treat other altcoins, because Bitcoin, for better or worse, is now decoupled and is more and more valued, and its behavior has become more of a Wall Street asset, if you know what I mean. Because while the entire market is either going sideways or collapsing on the alt side, you see Bitcoin gaining strength, momentum, adoption. Hundreds of crypto treasury companies all around the world wanting to buy Bitcoin. Central governments wanting to set up strategic Bitcoin reserves. You have countries all over the world who are either getting into mining Bitcoin or owning Bitcoin, or somehow getting it into their balance sheet, because they realize that dollar is a ticking time bomb. And I think with Donald Trump, the president of the United States, now coming out and openly saying that Bitcoin is extremely important for the country, is only an indication that they want to make sure that they soften the blow on USD if and when something bad really happens. And even if it doesn't, right? And maybe we're going to a system where dollar is backed by BTC. I mean, I don't know. It's all conjecture for me. But anyways, coming back to this chart, we can already see that this meteoric rise that happened, the price of all alts against BTC was roughly 14%. And if we look at the gap right now, the fair value gap right now from this point onwards till where we are today, we're still, this is all, still 87% difference between this low and where we are today at 27%. So it's not to say that it has to almost get to this point before we see that rise, but it is plausible because historically, if you look at it, this rise also happened somewhere around when alts to BTC was about 18%. Again, this rise happened close to the 12-13% mark. And so since then, the rise that we have seen hasn't been as parabolic, right? Because the pullback hasn't been that much. So we can finally see there is a break in pattern, like it was never crossing this support line, and it finally has, which means we're now in a phase of the market when alts are, well, basically BTC is rising, and alts continue to be debased or devalued against the BTC. So take this with a pinch of salt because, of course, no data is perfect, but you have to look at it from a combination of different lens. But this is surely telling me that we can see more and more corrections in the alts, especially with the way things are happening. If we don't see a rate cut in July and, other things ensuing, more Bitcoin demand, less altcoin, more of these crypto treasury companies coming in, and so more demand for stocks rather than them having to move their money on chain, are all indicators that the broader altcoin index may not see the same rallies that we have seen so far, at least not immediately, because institutional money simply is buying crypto exposure on the Wall Street, right, through stocks. Another good chart to look at is, of course, the Bitcoin dominance. Now, when you look at this chart, it's clear that we're now almost at new levels for Bitcoin dominance. We're at 66% now. I was looking at the entire chart, of course, until 2015 is when probably Ethereum came about, which is when you see the Bitcoin dominance kind of dropping a little bit from 99 to 94, 93%. And then there was a sudden drop all the way to 35%. This was again at the peak of the ICO wave, after which Bitcoin regained its dominance. It went to a high of 73% in 2021 January, before which we saw this parabolic drop, which was essentially the alt cycle of 2021, and this basically dropped to about 45% from here, and since then we've seen the market regain again. It's also an interesting thing because I feel like at somewhere around this is the 50-day moving average, right? And you can see for the longest time the 50-day moving average, the blue line, was the resistance, right? So the dominance could not cross this line, but since then we've seen it turn into a support line, right? So it's basically acting as support, and Bitcoin is not falling below it. Especially only briefly it did so in December, but it has only consistently climbed. So what has to happen on this chart for alt season to come? What has to happen is this chart has to reverse, and this has to get into a point where it gets to somewhere around 35% mark. 30. This is one, and maybe at this point, this is like pure confirmation that we have a cycle shifting where we have more alts coming into the picture, their valuations rising versus the BTC, but we don't see that happening just yet. And so it's we still have to wait a little bit. We still have to wait before it touches these levels and drops, so we have confirmation that okay, there is a shift happening, but it's not happening yet. So for people who are shouting on top of their voices that we are in an alt season, we are not in an alt season. Neither the overall market, excluding BTC, nor the BTC dominance chart itself shows any indicator. Now I'm going to take you through another chart which is called others, which is essentially the total crypto market cap excluding the top 10. So this is pretty much 95% of your altcoins, right? And you can already see that we have the 50-day simple moving average of prices kind of in a declining trend, and the 200-day moving average, after kind of going consistently up over the span of the last like 2.5 years, is kind of going flat out. And so this to me is again, also if you look here, we're making like lower close, which is again, like short-term bullish on this chart. So I do see, I would really like to see more corrections happening, because if it just drops to these levels, which is where it was in September, or January, we're just going to see a little bit of a rise, but we're not going to see the same parabolic rise that we saw in 2021 and most of 2021 and maybe a little bit here. So I do expect some correction to happen where the prices kind of falter even further, and this market has dropped to like, I don't know, at least in the medium term at these levels, and then hopefully at these levels, because at these levels what's going to happen is you will have a situation in the market where you have a lot of these like really high quality projects suddenly find themselves trading at a discount, and you'll have capital coming in because nothing exists in a vacuum, guys. So, but in any case, what is interesting to me in this chart is that many of our alts are trading pretty much, kind of bleeding right now. So if you really trust in a few blue chip projects, I think it's okay to start kind of diversifying yourself into a few of them. It has to be said that it's very hard to buy something when you see when you see the coin or the investment down 80%, and rightly so. It's also because a lot of people are carrying baggage, because folks bought at the top, and so because they bought at the top and they are holding, or many of them would have probably sold, but for the ones who are in the red and who are bleeding, they're really concerned, how do I even play this out, right? So there might be selling pressure there, but I think mostly folks would have probably booked losses. But if not, a separate conversation, but something for you to keep an eye on, that is still clearly not in an alt season. We don't see any indicator either in the charts or anywhere else, which is showing me that we are in a trend reversal of any kind. Now, I was also looking at the CoinMarketCap all-season index, and you can see that we are squarely in the Bitcoin season right now, right? And so again, proof that we're far from entering or even close to an all-season, which is basically when the when the price of your altcoins rise and dominate the market, right? We're really not in that situation right now. BTC is dominating the overall crypto, as you can already see. Like 65% of overall crypto market cap is represented just by Bitcoin, and so for this flip switch to happen, I think it's basically some time before that happens. So yeah, that is the fundamentals. But here's something interesting to look at, which I really like. Like, despite there not being an alt season, we can still look at about dozen and a half or 2 dozen coins which outperformed BTC, even in a market where Bitcoin continues to dominate. So you have Syrup, which leads the way, which is an RWA coin, followed closely by Hype. Each of them have seen like parabolic rises in the last few months, and then comes Pengu, which is Abstract Chain's meme coin, followed by Virtuals, and then SPX, which is the Murad meme coin. You can see like already in the top five or six, you already have Wave, Fartcoin, XPX, Pengu. Like 4 out of 6 are memes, projects with no utility, projects with nothing to show for it except for maybe community. So something to keep an eye on, because it's very clear that while people are telling you about, hey, the game has changed and it's all about cash cows and this and that, it's very clear to me that yes, cash flows are important, which is probably why Hype and Syrup are right up there, because they're making money. But then you have things like Pengu and SPX and Fartcoin and VIF, which is nothing but community signaling in some form of or the other. So yeah, okay. So this is all about the markets. Now I'm going to take you through 5 categories that I thought about while I was preparing this video, and my general feel and my own portfolio of things that I think will do extremely well if and when the market turns parabolic. And so my goal right now is very simply to DCA into some of these positions, and continue to buy cheap, and then have a very clear exit strategy. Because guys, the big challenge to investing in altcoins is we don't book profits, we become too greedy. We want to make 1000x, we're not satisfied with a 5x or a 10x or a 20x. So what I'm saying is, if you play this game right, if you are less greedy, more methodical, organized, then you can play this well. Okay, so with that, I'm going to start with 5 areas that I think are going to do extremely well once the cycle reverses. I'm going to show you each of those coins. So what are those 5 areas? I think with the way the market is going, and if you look at the broader ecosystem as well, what is it that we're seeing in the world around us? So we have the first big news is that we have a staking ETF on the line, that for Solana. A Solana staking ETF is currently on the SEC's table, pending discussion and approval. So what is this staking ETF, and how is it different from a normal ETF? Guys, if you look at the ETH ETF today, right, what that product simply states is you have a BlackRock which has issued an ETF in the market, and against that ETF, every time there is demand, they buy Ethereum, they hold it in a custodial wallet, and then they issue ETFs against that, which people buy and sell in the market, right? That's what it is. But we also know, because Ethereum is a proof of stake chain, right? You can basically stake that Ethereum and also earn a rate of return, because the chain is paying you in transaction fees and rewards to secure the chain. That's how the economic guarantees work. And this is called staking rewards or yield. So a staking ETF basically does this, right? Instead of just holding your Solana or your Ethereum in a self-custody wallet or in a custodial wallet, that money is basically deposited into these staking protocols, right? And you earn a yield on top of just the price appreciation that is going to happen. I think that's a big meta. And if you think, like an order of magnitude higher of okay, if this is how it's going to play out, what are those protocols or projects that I should position myself in order to take advantage of this? So my first category is DeFi, and I have a few projects here which I think are extremely interesting. I first want to start with, of course, Hyperliquid. I want to say Hyperliquid because Hyperliquid has been a phenomenal runner this season. In fact, in all of crypto's history, probably after Bitcoin, I have not seen a project do so well, gain so much attention. Maybe Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Hyperliquid is the third one. The cool thing is Hyperliquid knows how, what it is that their users really want, right? What it is that the market demands from a trading platform. So for those of you who don't know what Hyperliquid is, which is only possible if you're living under a rock, it's a decentralized exchange and a perpetual DEX. So basically you can trade on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and a bunch of different coins, and you can go long and short, take some leverage, and la. They also have an EVM called Hyper EVM, and there's a bunch of different projects coming up on Hyper EVM. And guys, I can't tell you how bullish I am about this because that's where we're going to really find those, truly outperforming alts. And in another video, I'm going to deep dive into the hyperliquid ecosystem and tell you about what's brewing around the various lending and borrowing protocols, dexes, and other like DeFi Legos which are being built on top of the Hyper EVM. But for now, I think hyperliquid is a great play. Now, many argue like it is already trading at like 13 billion, 40 billion FTV. But bear in mind, guys, if you look at the DEX to SEX ratio, it is still fairly, I don't know if we have it on CoinMarketCap, but let me try and find out. I mean, it's still, pretty much DEX's, SEX's dominating the market, right? So I think we have it here on the block. It's still pretty much all of the volume is dominated by dexes, by centralized exchanges, right? So because there is so much volume, like look at this dex to CX spot trading volume, it's still 28, like 72% of all volume is happening on centralized exchanges. I think with the arrival of Hyperliquid, we've already seen the market for perps pretty much. I think on the DeFi side, they pretty much own 70%, but also against Binance, which is the market leader, they're slowly and steadily gaining market share, and they're still like 10 or 12% of their overall market share. I think this is going to go up. We're going to see more demand. We are already seeing institutional companies setting up hype trading, treasury companies buying hype. So there are a lot of things going on really well for this project. So keep this on your watch list, guys. I'll wait for some corrections and depths, but I'll be comfortable buying this at like say, $6-7 billion market cap ranges. Like this point, it would be very very attractive to me, and I'm going to try and hold this for maybe it goes to like 20, 25, 30 billion, which at this price is pretty cool, right? So this is one project that I want to talk about. Then there are a bunch of projects on the Solana ecosystem, which I think are poised to do really well given the tailwinds for Solana. So you have the Solana staking ETF, you have you have Soul Strategy and a bunch of other companies setting up Solana treasury companies. You also have Pump Fund, which is like 70% of all the value that Solana is generating, coming up with their own coin launch. I think all of these put together makes Solana an extremely attractive place, and especially the DeFi side on Solana is going to do extremely well. So we can already see Radium is trading at 500 million. Its cycle top in January was 2.2 billion dollars. So we are already looking at a clean 4x on Radium, which I think is extremely possible given how much of a volume Radium is managing. Then you have G2. You remember I told you about the staking ETF. G2 is the number one staking protocol on Solana. So, and it is currently trading at 800x. There's no way when that kind of money, that kind of institutional capital flows in, would this number not go at least 10x? So I'm extremely bullish G2. I rather hold a large bag of G2 in my portfolio, and so far, I'm doing like fairly well because I think I got in when it was right around this range, about 500 million. So I'm already 60% up, but I think I'll continue to hold this back for at least, like in my head the target is 5x, but I think it can easily go to 8 to 10 billion dollars in the upcoming alt cycle. Now there is this conversation that's just starting to happen that, hey, if Solana is going to have a Solana staking ETF, if Say is going to have a Say staking ETF, then why the heck would Ethereum, which is the market leading proof of stake chain, not have a staking ETF as well? And I think it will definitely do. And when it does, the biggest beneficiary of that move, apart from Ethereum, of course, is going to be Lido, which is the leading liquid staking protocol in Ethereum, right? Which basically allows you to stake Ethereum and then also use that liquid staking token that you receive as a receipt in DeFi. So I think we're going to see a massive correction in Lido way forward. If you look at its all-time high, it was at almost like 3.5 billion, and it's currently trading at 500. So this is a product which is currently making money, which has a 7x on its top right now, and with that kind of a tailwind, I think it can easily go past that, even create like new all-time highs. So another project for you to keep an eye on. Then, of course, Aerodrome Finance, simply because this is the number one DEX on base, and with everything happening on the base Coinbase side of thing, like Aerodrome is going to do extremely well. A few others which I think you should look at and keep on your watch list. One includes Cloud, which is basically a beta for Jito. There's Deepbook. I think if Sui is going to do extremely well, then Deepbook is basically its number one DEX. I think it's pretty much obvious that this is going to do extremely well. And then there are two projects which I want to keep an eye on, and I think they're also new for this cycle. So we are yet to see price discovery. But one is Morpho and another one is Fluid. I think these two are extremely interesting projects because a lot of blockchains right now is working with Morpho and Fluid to create these like yield products for degens. And I think this adoption is going to unlock a whole new wave of institutional capital as well once we have clarity on those side of things. So for the cycle, I think these are the DeFi protocols that I probably I'm going to play my strategy around with, and I think it's going to do extremely well. Now, the second category that I want to talk about is InfoFi. What is InfoFi, guys? InfoFi basically is trying to create a financial market around information. And so there are two major players who are operating in this category. The first one is Kaito, which is basically the market read. And if you look at the price chart, it is currently trading at 400 million, which is kind of below their all-time high of 582. Also, this mind you, this project launched at a time when the market was essentially in a bear phase, and so we haven't quite seen any price discovery, like deep price discovery, happen on Kaito. I think in the way that they are going out there, it's actually a protocol which is making real dollars right now. Every blockchain, guys, every blockchain that I know of wants to set up a Kaito reward station to drive awareness and mindshare for their projects. And so for me, I think Kaito is highly underpriced at wherever it is right now. It's currently trading at like 400 million at a 1.7 billion FTV, and there's no way, this stays. So I think this is going to do extremely well as well, and I hold a pretty decent bag on Kaito. I think when the cycle turns, I can easily foresee that's going to like $5 to $7 billion, easily. Then you have Cookie, which is again a beta to Kaito, again getting into the same InfoFi space. But if you want to have a little bit of a diversity, it's much smaller than Kaito right now, obviously. So, there is more upside potential. You can also see there was a parabolic run on Cookie all the way from 10 million to 100 million. So it did a sweet 12 to 14x. And since then, there was a lot of correction and then build up again. Again, we're looking at this price discovery at around 100 million. I think in the next cycle, we are pretty much looking at a new wave. They have a lot more clarity around their product. They've launched a new product called Snap, which I would urge all of you guys to explore and try out, which is essentially a competitor to Kaito. And they've completely changed the game because Kaito is extremely expensive. They're offering the same data, much cheaper or almost free. So yeah, I really like Cookie, guys. Okay, now I think the third meta, which is going to do really well, is artificial intelligence. Of course, my entire channel is about artificial intelligence, and you know how big of a fan I am of BitTensor. But apart from BitTensor, I think the other ones that you should keep an eye on is artificial super intelligence, which is trying to kind of build this, large decentralized model AI model. And so let's see how this game host goes. There has also been a recent announcement by a large company, listed company, which has started an FAT treasury company, which is again great bullish. So keep an eye on Fed. Its all-time high or last cycle was $6 billion. It is currently trading at 2. I think it's going to do fairly well in the next cycle as well. Now, there are a few ones which are kind of a decent play at this point, but I've kept them and I'm watching them. I actually own a little bit of them. The first one is Giza, which is called Giza Tech. Now, what they've essentially built is this agent protocol or infrastructure where AI agents are trained to go look for yields, and then I basically deposit my stable coins like USDT or USDT in a vault, and the agent goes out there in DeFi to find high yield opportunities, manages my risk, and automatically earns money on my behalf. I think this is a great product because I've always believed like DeFi is extremely difficult for normal people, and this kind of creates a gateway for autonomous like portfolio management, which I think is going to be a billion, gazillion, dozillion dollar market. So yeah, Giza currently trading at 15 million, a high of 35 million, and a FTV of 135. No way this sticks. I think this is going to do extremely level. Like I think it could easily like 15 to 20x if the conditions are right for it. Fundamentals are also looking good for this project. If you go visit their website, you will see like almost $150 million in volume is generated by the agent. So cool. Next one is Oki. This is in the DEP AI play. I'm not going to talk much about this product apart from the fact that I think DEP AI is extremely underrepresented in crypto right now. Most of the projects are actually complete scam, to be honest. But Oki is, I was listening to the founder talk about, what is the role of crypto and blockchain in physical AI and why it is important. And I was sold on his vision, guys. So I would urge all of you guys to explore Oki. And if you want me to go do a deeper dive on Oki, I can make a separate video, but for now, keep an eye on that. Now, the next meta that I think will do extremely well and already has is ICM. ICM, guys, is Internet Capital Markets. And this is the idea that you can go launch a coin and raise money for your project from the public on the blockchain. That's all ICM is. 4 major players. You have Virtuals, which did a $5 billion in its cycle top, currently trading at 1, which is CreatorBit, which is, I've created another video for this as well. You can go explore my channel, which is a beta 2 Virtuals, currently trading at 40 million. Then there's Launchcoin, which is the first coin launched by the Believe app, which is currently trading at 150. And finally, you have Clanker, which is the main token of TokenBot. And this is, again, a launch pad on Base. So Base, this is also, I think, on Solana or Base. This is on Base in this moment. So Base is clearly owning the ICM meta at this stage. I think with Virtuals, the whole ACP, Agent Commerce Protocol, is unlocking a whole new range of agentic use cases. I see a lot of volume happening on the Virtuals ecosystem. It clearly remains my top bet. CreatorBit, I think, given their whole BitTensor connection, is interesting for me because I think we're going to see BitTensor subnet inference being used to create agents on CreatorBit. And I've already made like 2 to 3x on a bunch of my positions, and I've shared that. My biggest bet on CreatorBit in terms of those underlying tokens is DKing and Aeon, both in the prediction market space. But I'm going to do another video on CreatorBit. But if you want a broader exposure on ICM, definitely look at this. Again, Launchcoin, I'm hearing news that the founder is brought in a few advisors who's telling him that, you can't run your company like a Silicon Valley startup. You have to run it like a crypto startup. And these are the things that you need to do, which is now slowly starting to reflect on the token price as well, which is what I like. And finally, Clanker, I think $30 million in overall revenue generated, which is so cool because I didn't even know they're making any money. So that caught my attention. And since then, I have started a small position in Clanker. I think this can easily 5 to 10x from where it is. Now, finally, my last category, and this will remain the hottest, is going to be memes. I will give you a few coins. Of course, memes are I mean, there's no way to really think about them apart from, how much holder community base there is. But I think Mog is one which I hear the most. You can already see from its lows of 100 million on April, it has already recovered like 3x already, guys. And its top was 1.5. Again, I think it will make a journey to its top, or maybe create a new top, or we'll see a parabolic rise like we did in Sheep or Doge with Mog. So this is one of my top coins. This is also Murad's top meme coin, right? Now this is another one which is all will retire. It is a smaller meme, kind of for 3.5 million, so nothing much really. But I think this is a narrative that people would probably want to catch on with. So I'm gonna have a little small bag in all will retire, because I really want to retire. So I thought it was fun, and I thought I should bring this in. Now Fortcoin, I don't know if I've spoken about this before, but I don't know. There's something about Fortcoin that that just sticks to me. It speaks to me. I think it's the thing that came out of the truth terminal, whole conversation between agents and stuff. And so it also has done quite a bit of a recovery before kind of having this correction. And I think Fort fails are recognizing it, they're seeing it. And I think we're going to see a resurgence in Fort, where it will not only achieve its all-time high of 2.1 billion, but really breach it. So for me, this is the ultimate AI meme coin, guys. That's why Fart is interesting. Another one is GigaChat, of course, currently trading at 172. Previous high was 864. I think it has a very strong community, strong holder base. A lot of people, including Murad, talk about GigaChat. It remains one of my top bets. And then you have Brett, which is, for me, the representation of the mimetic energy of base. And if base is going to do well, which I think they will, Brett will do extremely well, because this is their seminal meme coin, guys. So it's currently trading at 380 million, all-time high of about 2 billion. So we're looking at a clean like 6-7x on this. Keep an eye on Brett, especially because the announcements that has happened on the Coinbase side is phenomenal, right? And then finally you have Lo-Fi. This is the number one meme on Sui. I think the Sui season is close, and it was valued at 220 million, currently at 330. So we're looking at a nice 7x. Could go even higher. All right, guys. So all right, guys. So these are all the coins that I'm looking at. The meta that I think, ICM, memes, DeFi, AI are the areas, and FOFI are the 5 areas that I'm looking at this cycle. I think they're going to do extremely well. And position yourself well. Do your own research, of course. Not all of them would do well, but I'm gonna maybe sit down and do another top 10 picks, because I don't think, more and more I think about it, I really don't want to have more than 10 coins in my portfolio. So I'm going to share my pick with you, and maybe we can do a YouTube live or something. So you and I can, discuss this together. You can ask me questions, and we can together explore the topic in detail. But then, until then, thank you guys so much for tuning into today's episode. I'll see you again next week.